Now, you might not know this about me if you're new and you only know me from, you know, streams or commentary or whatever. But I was one of the first guys. I sort of pioneered, and this is going to sound like, again, like I'm tooting my own horn. There weren't many journalists that were doing opinion pieces back in the day. We'll go back to Big Head for this. Opinion pieces were really considered unpalatable, I guess, back in the day, because esports was a new thing. Esports had a young audience. Esports had an audience that didn't read a lot of news, never picked up a newspaper in some cases. And so when somebody comes along with an opinion piece, it used to blow their minds. These aren't facts. No, it's me looking at facts and then making an assessment, you know, about them. This article is biased. Yes, opinion pieces are biased. Like, all opinions are based on the totality of your experience to form an opinion that is inherently biased. Correct. Yes, they are biased. So, you know, you used to go through this, but I started, so back in 2005, right? I did stuff that no one even remembers now and talks about. I was one of the first esports journalists doing real feature-length articles, because I came from that world. And so the average esports article was 1,000 words when I started in 2005. Obviously, esports has been around for a few years before that, but the average esports article, you couldn't go past 1,000 words. People just were like, lol, TLDR. That was when TLDR was born, by the way. Lol, TLDR. That was when that was born, you know, back in the day. And 1,000 words was the limit. I remember getting feedback when I was writing 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 words. And it was basically, you know, all the 1.6 writers who had a bigger following would say to me, Richard, your articles are just too long. No one's going to read them. And I'm going, well, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to write them. That's me, right? That's what I want to bring to the industry. So I started doing long feature-length articles, and I started doing it in Source, which was like easily at this point in 2005, 2006. It had already been deemed to be inferior to 1.6 because they'd done a disastrous thing at the 2005 World Cyber Games in Singapore, where what they did is they had the qualifiers on 1.6, and then they had the finals on Source, which were won by Team 3D, I think, that year. Anyway, yes, I know. People are typing, what? Yeah, esports was a mess, kids. It was fucked up. It was really fucked up back in the day. And the problem was as well, it was rushed out because it had only come out in 2004. It was sent out in September 2004, if memory serves me correctly, and it was going out to LAN cafes initially, and then around about December 2004, January 2005, you could get your hands on the game. It was also packaged with Half-Life 2, blah, blah, blah. So you basically had this game that wasn't fit. It had a ton of bugs. Nobody liked it. 1.6 was in a real fucking good spot, and yet they did this thing at the World Cyber Games, one of the biggest tournaments on the calendar. And by the way, if you follow Ben Woodward, that's Ben Woodward of Code Red. He's a boomer like me. He was back there back in time. He ran like, you know, fucking Four Kings. He was a CGS GM. You know, so if he says Richard remembers it correctly, he's a very good fact checker for this shit. So anyway, they had loads of fucking issues, and it was just Source wasn't ready. It looked nice, but it handled differently. It had like it had like weird elements where the tagging wasn't as severe. Hit reg felt a bit off. There were like little exploits and graphical tweaks. People felt, you know, the nades handled all fucked up, and there was no consistency. You know, the recoil patterns were different. So you went and played it, and basically after that, and everyone said, we're not playing this game again. And it was essentially shelved and considered a second-hand product until CGS turned around and said, it's going to look better on TV. So in that time period, in that gap, I was writing about Source, and I was writing about UK Source. So I might as well have been writing about nothing. It might as well have been fucking Dear Diary. But I was writing 3,000 words. I interviewed like every Source player I ever fucking met for like quotes. I put out this like mad article. It got me my first ever esports journalist nomination at the Turtle Entertainment Awards. Back in 2006. I did investigative journalism. I was one of the first guys doing real investigative journalism. And the thing that I did was I did opinion pieces. And people were like, no, what the fuck? An opinion piece? Who the fuck are you to have an opinion? And I just said, I'll just build the credibility. You'll be reading them. And so I started an opinion piece, and I started the first ever esports gossip column. Not technically the first English gossip column, because I think Rikako was before me. And I would just dump all this content out. I started a lot of things that went on to be norms, you know. SK Gaming were also big on this. Now, I don't know the exact world, because me and Thorin didn't talk about that. In fact, I think we actively disliked each other at this period. Just two worlds, you know. Thorin used to work at ESEA and then later SK Gaming, and he came up with loads of like things that are now the norm. I think he came up with the idea of like good and bad, and he came up with Q&As before we did like any esports Q&As on like Reddit and stuff. He came up with a lot of formats that were pioneered, and at SK Gaming, basically the website he became an editor of and was irreplaceable in my opinion. They never replaced him once Duncan left. They realized, let's hire a bunch of big names and start having them do opinion pieces. Carmack was one of those guys. Carmack was one of the first. He had, I think it was either Carmack or Melistrix, who's now the editor of esports.gg, that had a scandal I should probably talk about at some point. It was either Carmack, Melistrix, or a guy called Zex. And he used to have a column called the Zex Files. Mine was called Gonzaria, you know what I mean? It was like, esports was fun back then. So, yeah, anyway, it was one of us started the weekly opinion column. I can't exactly tell you who started it. I want to say maybe Carmack or Melistrix, or maybe Zex. I think they were ahead of me, but mine was better, and it had a better name, and it was, opinion pieces suddenly became the norm, so much so that we went and we made it a huge part of our business model at Heaven Media. That used to run Cadred and Tech9 and all that. We had guys like Tosspot writing opinion pieces, guys like Red Eye writing opinion pieces. I'd get players to write opinion pieces. I trained my boy Mick McGee, one of the best writers in esports you never heard of, to do opinion pieces. We were banging them out. We used to get fucking absolute loads of shit for doing opinion pieces. One of the most brutal ones we ever did in terms of reception. Right, back when CS:GO first started, there's a Danish commentator called Rizc or Rizc, RIZC, and I think he'd had a relative die and leave him a lot of money, and he invested all of the money into a portable studio and paying a producer. And he, at the start of CS:GO, this is before we even had like Anders and Semler had established themselves, he was going to the events and saying, I'll cast your event, and he would set his like little thing up, his little tech, and he would do like these casts. And the problem was, lovely guy, but he wasn't very good. Not back then. I like the guy now. You know, I think he's come a long way. We all have. But he just wasn't very good. And so Mick McGee, the one true legendary journalist you've never heard of, he wrote an opinion piece because he was my assistant editor at the time, and he wrote an opinion piece called "This is Ridiculous," right? Because that was the other thing I'm to blame for that. All those shit headlines with puns in the title in esports, I did that. I did do that. You can punch me in the face if you ever see me for that. I'm sorry about that, but I did do that. I made a point of doing that on Cadred. Almost every article had one. I used to sit there and do wordplay and come up with them, and everyone would be like groaning. Oh, what are you doing? Basically, I turned dad jokes into a journalistic art form, so, whatever. Anyway, he did an article called "This is Ridiculous." And we just torched this dude on the publication. Right in his backyard, because he was a Cadred user, he was a regular, it was CSGO, we were all in on that by now, we built our reputation up, we were doing very different content to HLTV, and anyway, we fucking torched the dude. We literally said, he cannot be the voice for CSGO if you want it to succeed. It has to be someone else. He's that bad. That was the premise of the article. And dudes, you cannot believe the abuse we got over that, especially because Rizc was like, but I just want He's like, just, I just want to do my best. No, you can't do your best. We're not going to let you do your best. You're going to kill the game if you're the best. Fuck this. And so that's how brutal shit used to be back in the day, by the way. All these fucking Valorant players, don't say I missed a shot. Like, we literally said this guy should have no functional career whatsoever, and if he isn't stopped, our game's going to die. That's how we were rolling back then. And it was rough. I agree. That was a real tough thing to do to another human being. But it was an opinion. We used to run bold opinions. And, we got so much hate for that one. It was remembered. People remember that I wrote it because I had a reputation for being an asshole. I know that surprises you. And so anyway, I used to say to Mick all the time. I still talk to Mick. He's like my mate in real life, And I used to say to Mick all the time, like, just fucking fuck him. Like, just, it's an opinion. Like, if you can't handle an opinion, like, you're in the wrong fucking... What are you even clicking on the article for, you mad cunt? Says opinion. Just, I don't like them. Just walk away, It's like the Tyler, the Creator comment about cyberbullying, you know what I mean? Just, like, fucking walk away. If you don't like opinions, don't read opinion pieces. Easy. Then, where I really sort of ramped it up, there was this new game coming out, so it's like 2009, 2010, 2011. It was building up as an esport, and so this is like parallel to what was going on with CSGO, and I was like, fuck it, let's start writing about League of Legends. I'm going to do it. I famously fucked up and said League of Legends will never succeed. It's Babby's first MOBA. Even Hon is better. As soon as Dota 2 gets here, no one's going to play League. It's shite. Back in 2009, 2010, if you ever played it, it was ropey as fuck. And so, was wrong on that one. Always own that. I'll always own that. I was wrong. But we started writing about it, and we did two things. We did roster leaks, which nobody did in League of Legends, and nobody believed them at first. I broke all the big roster leaks. I even hired people like Jacob Wolf and Josh Raven, great journalists in the scene, to basically go and do these leaks. And, and I was like, let's treat it like football when there's an off-season, transfer, da-da-da. And obviously, look what we've got now. And the other thing was opinion pieces. And these League of Legends Zoomers couldn't fucking handle it. The reason I got banned from the League of Legends subreddit initially was because I'd just go into the comments. So people would be like, we can't say this, it's biased. And I'd just be like, it's an opinion piece, you fucking moron. And I would reply to all of them. It's an opinion piece, you fucking moron. It's an opinion piece, you fucking moron. It's an opinion piece, you fucking moron. Opinions are biased, you fucking moron. And it was just, and that's what started the whole chain, the catastrophic chain.